So I repeat, for more than 50 years, the Körber-Stiftung Körber Foundation has been promoting international dialogue. And the focus of our activities and efforts is the dialogue, the talking with each other rather than talking about each other. The objective was and is to learn how to understand each other in order to, first to communicate and then to understand each other. In the year of 2000, our Bergedorf Roundtable, which is our oldest and most prestigious dialogue project, under the leadership of former President Richard von Weizsäcker, that first roundtable took place at the threshold of the 21st century. It took place in Beijing. And the topic at that time was China, a partner in the world economy. A high point of that meeting was the meeting with the former Chinese President Jiang Zemin. Since then, we have continuously increased and enlarged our relationships. In the year 2010, we were honored to meet you at the occasion of the 147th meeting of the Roundtable in Beijing, when you received us in the Great Hall of the People. 2012, we had our meeting in Huangshan in the province of Anhui, and in 2013, the young leaders of the Körber Network for Foreign Policy visited China and conducted numerous fruitful talks with representatives of politics, economy, science, and civil society. Next to our visits in China, our foundation also repeatedly had the honor to receive high-ranking guests from China in Germany. So just allow me to mention a few of them. For instance, the visit of the deputy chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference in May 2011. I do not dare to claim that we can achieve consensus in all these talks and dialogues, but nonetheless we have learned to understand each other much better, and we also have learned how to discuss openly in a frank manner those issues where we do not align our opinions. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to take this opportunity to welcome two elder statesmen whose name in a worldwide scale stands for dialogue and communication and understanding, and who we are indebted to in the Körber Foundation. Let us welcome together with me former Federal President Richard von Weizsäcker, who has been the chairman of the Bergedorf Roundtable for 2 decades, and former Chancellor Helmut Schmidt, who also is a long-standing friend of our founder, Mr. Körber, and also a participant in many of our dialogue roundtables, and also a good and deep connoisseur of China. So welcome to you. Ladies and gentlemen, the rise of China has changed our world in a fundamental manner. The bilateral trade between the European Union and China already increases 400 billion euros, and the bilateral trade between China and Germany already has reached a volume of 140 billion euros. So China is our third important trade partner, even before the United States. With this backdrop, we have a great interest in promoting and observing the political and economical development of China. Your country, Mr. President, has reached enormous goals in the last decades. The Chinese economic miracle has liberated hundreds of millions of people from poverty. And this is a development without historical precedent. And China has been acknowledged to achieve this on a worldwide level. Nonetheless, we still have a lot of work to do. We have to work for social equity and justice. We have to increase environmental protection. We have to fight against corruption. And we have to develop a sustainable pension and social insurance system. All these issues also are important issues in Europe. Nonetheless, we also value the rights of political participation and personal liberty in China. So in a number of dialogue mechanisms, these issues are being discussed between our two countries, and we really are of the opinion that the exchange between the civil societies of our countries should be exchanged. Ladies and gentlemen, the role of China in international politics is of fundamental function and important for us in Europe. Without China, we cannot accept the challenges of the international challenges. So China also has made very clear what her core interests in the international politics are, and pursues these targets and interests with high confidence. Here we face a number of very important questions towards the world power China. So the question is how and if China can accept more responsibility in international scope. That's why we are so happy that you, Mr. President, will be able to talk to us today about China's role in a globalized world. And you also expressed willingness to discuss with us a few aspects in a dialogue. Former Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd also gave a speech at our foreign policy roundtable, and he said, we want to meet each other as Zheng You, as a critical friend who is able to speak an open word to the other, and who is helpful in searching for common solutions. Or, as you are doing it today, by writing an article in a German newspaper. So you said we should discuss our differences on an equal level. I think this is a very good idea to promote international understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much that you are here today, that you are our guests today, and I thank you, Mr. President, that you took the time to enter into dialogue with us. Thank you very much, President. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Former Federal President Richard von Weizsäcker, former Chancellor Helmut Schmidt, Vice President Klaus Wehmeyer, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, Guten Tag, good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to meet you and speak to you an invitation of former President Weizsäcker and the Körber Foundation. Let me begin by expressing my sincere thanks to the Körber Foundation for its commitment to promoting mutual understanding between Europe and China. I visited Germany 5 years ago. Back then, the international financial crisis was unfolding. The European debt issue just emerged, and the global economy was overshadowed by dark clouds of uncertainty and anxiety. Against such a backdrop, China and Germany agreed during my visit to lift bilateral cooperation in various fields to a higher level and overcome difficulties with joint actions. 5 years on, I am glad to see the progress Europe has made in addressing the sovereign debt issue and also clear signs of economic recovery. Germany, as the anchor of European economy and champion of European integration, has played a key role in this endeavor and gained international applause. We are heartened by the progress made in the joint efforts of China, Germany, and Europe to fight the international financial crisis. China-Germany relationship is never so strong as it is today, with bilateral exchanges and cooperation reaching unprecedented depth, breadth, and warmth. All this shows that by drawing on each other's strength, we can not only achieve common development to the benefit of both countries and peoples, but also contribute significantly to promoting world peace and development. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, what has made it possible for China and Germany to make such good progress in exchanges and cooperation? A key factor, in my view, is that through mutual efforts made over the years, our two sides have come to appreciate that countries different in history, culture, national condition, and the social system need to deepen mutual understanding, treat each other with sincerity, be ready to listen to the other's views, and put oneself in the other's position in addressing related issues. Mutual understanding is the foundation of state-to-state relations. Deeper mutual understanding will cement and broaden the foundation of our exchanges and cooperation. Thanks to over 30 years of rapid growth achieved through reform and opening up, China's GDP now ranks the second place in the world. As China continues to grow, some people start to worry. Some view China through colored glasses and believe that China will inevitably become a threat as it develops further. They even portray China as being the terrifying Mephisto who would someday suck the soul of the world. Absurdity as such couldn't be more ridiculous, yet some people, regrettably, are never tired of preaching it. This shows that prejudice is indeed hard to overcome. A review of human history tells us that what keeps people apart are not mountains, rivers, or oceans, but a lack of mutual understanding. As Lebanese once observed, only the sharing of our talents will light the lamp of wisdom. Let me take this opportunity to talk to you about China's reform and development, focusing on China's commitment to peaceful development. I hope this will help you gain a better understanding of China. China made the solemn declaration to the world long ago that it is committed to pursuing peaceful development. It strives to develop itself by upholding world peace and maintain world peace through its development. Pursuing peaceful development is China's response to international concern about the direction of China's development. Moreover, it demonstrates the Chinese people's confidence and a commitment to realize its development goals. Such confidence and commitment are rooted in the rich heritage of the Chinese civilization, in our understanding of conditions for achieving the goals of China's development, and in our keen appreciation of the great trends of global development. The Chinese nation is a peace-loving nation. and the most profound pursuit of a nation has its origin in the national character formed through generations. The Chinese civilization, with a history of over 5,000 years, has always cherished peace. The pursuit of peace, amity, and harmony is an integral part of the Chinese character, which runs deep in the blood of the Chinese people. In ancient times, the following axioms were already popular in China. A warlike state, however big it may be, will eventually perish. Peace is of paramount importance. Seek harmony without uniformity. Replace weapons of war with gifts of jade and silk. Bring prosperity to the nation and security to the people. Foster friendship with neighbors. Achieve universal peace. These axioms have been passed on in China from generation to generation. China was long one of the most powerful countries in the world. Yet, it never engaged in colonialism or aggression. The pursuit of peaceful development represents the peace-loving cultural tradition of the Chinese nation over the past several thousand years, a tradition that we have inherited and carried forward. China has set the following goal for its future development. By 2020, China will double its 2010 GDP and the per capita income of urban and rural residents, and also finish the building of the society of initial prosperity in all respects. By the mid-21st century, China will have turned itself into a modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, and harmonious. We refer to this goal as being the Chinese dream of the great renewal of the Chinese nation. We will quickly enhance China's overall prosperity and raise its happiness index for over 1.3 billion Chinese people as long as we are on the right path. Yet, it will not be as easy to make this happen for every individual. Consider the difference between 8 people sharing one meal and 80 or even 800 people sharing the meal. No matter how big the meal is, the individual share of it will differ dramatically for diners different in number. We are keenly aware that China will remain the world's largest developing country for a long time to come, and that to make life better for the over 1.3 billion people calls for strenuous efforts. 2 things will enable China to focus on development. That is, a harmonious and a stable domestic environment, and a peaceful and a stable international environment.
History is the best teacher. It faithfully records the journey that every country has gone through and offers guidance for its future development. In the over 100 years from the Opium War in 1840, prior to the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, China was ravaged by wars, turmoils, and foreign aggressions. To the average Chinese, it was a period of ordeal too bitter to recall. The war of aggression against China committed by Japanese militarism alone inflicted over 35 million Chinese military and civilian casualties. These atrocities are still fresh in our memory. We Chinese have long held the belief that we should not do unto others what we would not want others do to us. China needs peace as much as human beings need air and plants need sunshine. Only by pursuing peaceful development and working together with all other countries to uphold world peace can China realize its goal and make even greater contribution to the world. Dr. Sun Yat-sen, the pioneer of China's democratic revolution, had this to say: "The trend of the world is surging forward. Those who follow the trend will prosper, and those who go against it will perish." History shows that a country, in order to achieve prosperity, must recognize and follow the underlying trend of the changing world. Otherwise, it will be abandoned by history. What is the trend of today's world? The answer is unequivocal. It is a trend of peace, development, cooperation, and win-win progress. China does not subscribe to the outdated logic that a country will invariably seek hegemony when it grows in strength. Can the old practice of colonialism and hegemonism still work in today's world? Definitely no. It can only lead to a dead end, and those who stick to this beaten track will only hit a stone wall. The only alternative is peaceful development. That is why China is committed to it. Facts speak louder than words. Over the past decades, China has consistently followed an independent foreign policy of peace and made it abundantly clear that China's foreign policy is aimed at maintaining world peace and promoting common development. China has stated on numerous occasions that it opposes hegemonism and power politics in all forms, does not interfere in the internal affairs of other countries, and will never seek hegemony or expansion. This is our guiding policy which underlies China's political system, and this is a policy we follow in practice. At the same time, China will firmly uphold its sovereignty, security, and development interests. No country should expect China to swallow the bitter fruit that undermines its sovereignty, security, and development interests. In short, China's pursuit of peaceful development is not an act of expediency, still less diplomatic rhetoric. Rather, it is a conclusion we have reached based on an objective assessment of China's history, its present and future. It represents confidence in thinking and a readiness to practice it. As peaceful development benefits both China and the world, we cannot think of any reason why we should not pursue this approach that has proven so effective. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, last November, the third plenum of the 18th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China was held, at which a top-level decision on furthering China's reform and opening a program was made, and a roadmap and timetable for carrying out reform was adopted. The overarching goal is to improve and develop the socialist system with Chinese characteristics, advance the modernization of national governance system and capabilities, and thus lay down a solid institutional foundation for China's long-term development. China is accelerating its efforts to promote a new type of industrialization, application of IT technologies, urbanization, and agricultural modernization, which will unleash tremendous demand in investment and consumption. With a per capita GDP of close to $7,000, China is in a crucial stage of fast upgrading the mix of private consumption and industrial structure. In 2013, the service sector overtook industrial manufacturing for the first time as a bigger share of the Chinese economy. The share of the service sector and its importance in the Chinese economy will continue to rise, and so will high-value added high-tech industries. And new growth areas of consumption and drivers of growth will keep emerging. In the next 5 years, China is projected to import over $10 trillion of goods and make over $500 billion of overseas investment. And over 500 million Chinese tourists will make overseas visits. Lao Tzu, an ancient Chinese philosopher, observed that a big country should be like the lower reaches of a river. It means that a big country should be as inclusive as the lower reaches of a river that admit numerous tributaries. China is eager to strengthen dialogue and exchange of views with the rest of the world and listen to the voices of other countries with an open and inclusive mind. We hope that time will dispel prejudices and misunderstanding. We also hope that the world will view China in an objective, historical, and multidimensional light and see the true and the full picture of a dynamic China. China will never pursue development at the expense of other countries' interests or follow a beggar-the-neighbor policy. With the lofty cause of peace and development of the world in mind, we will contribute the Chinese vision to the management of contemporary international relations, offer the Chinese solution for improving global governance, and make our own contribution to the efforts of the mankind in meeting various challenges of the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, the Chinese nation and the German nation are two great nations who have made important contribution to promoting the progress of human civilization. Germany is famous for its advanced science, technology, and developed manufacturing industries. It has also produced many luminaries with global renown in philosophy, literature, and music. And many of their works are popular in China. Poems and other literature works by von Gauck, Schiller, Heine, tomes of philosophy by Leibniz, Kant, Hegel, Feuerbach, Marx, Heidegger, Marcus, and enchanting melodies by Bach, Beethoven, Schumann, and Brahms, to name just a few. Many Chinese, including myself, enjoy their works, marvel at the power of thinking, and have thus gained a deeper understanding of the world and life. As a German saying goes, mountains never meet but people do. The Chinese and Germans have a long history of exchanges and profound friendship. As I speak to you, I recall a German widely respected and loved in China. His name is John Körber. Over 70 years ago, Japanese troops invaded the Chinese city of Nanjing and committed a heinous crime by killing more than 300,000 Chinese soldiers and civilians. When the killing continued, Mr. Körber contacted a dozen other foreigners in Nanjing and set up the Nanjing Safety Zone, sheltering over 200,000 Chinese. Mr. Körber kept a detailed record of the massacre in his diary, which has become an important evidence for study on this historical incident. In 1996, the John Körber House was jointly opened by China and Germany in Nanjing. At the end of last year, renovation of the Körber Tomb in Berlin, founded by the Nanjing municipal government, was completed. We in China cherish the memory of Mr. Körber as a man who demonstrated great compassion for life and the love of peace. I also think of another German friend, Mr. Norbert Gauck, who was a grape grower. Between 2000 and 2009, he and his assistant Hans Wenner Boy went to Zaozhuang in the Chinese province of Shandong 17 times to help local farmers improve grape growing and grafting. Norbert also granted a local winery free of charge the right to use the centuries-old brand of his family business. Norbert and Hans also paid the tuition of 8 students from poor local families. In 2007, Hans was suddenly diagnosed with cancer. Before he died, he asked Norbert to give 2,000 yuan to two of the students he helped to enable them to finish senior high school. When Norbert gave the money to the two students on 1st August 2008, all those present were moved to tears. These are just two of the many touching stories of friendship between the Chinese and Germans. Over the years, many Germans have contributed personally to the growth of China-German relations and the reform and opening up endeavors of China. The 21st century is a century of cooperation. A broad vision will open up broad vista for our future cooperation. The next 5 to 10 years will be a crucial period in reform and development for both China and Germany. The deepening of such reform will expand our cooperation to more areas and inject new impetus for it. I am convinced that with the integration of Made in Germany and Made in China, we will not only produce quality products together, but also make life better and more inspiring for our two peoples. China and Germany are respectively the biggest economy in Asia and Europe. Bringing closer our two economies, the two pillars of growth in Asia and Europe, will surely boost the world economy. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, this year marks the centenary of World War I and the 75th anniversary of World War II. Lessing said, "History should not encumber memory, it should enlighten common sense." The former Chancellor Willy Brandt said, "He who forgets the past will get sick in his soul." And we Chinese often say, history, if not forgotten, can serve as a guide for the future. We in China have chosen a path of peaceful development based on what we have gone through. We sincerely hope that all other countries will follow the path of peaceful development and work together to build a harmonious world of enduring peace and common prosperity. Thank you.
Herr Staatspräsident, ganz herzlichen Dank für Ihre Ausführungen.
So thank you very much indeed for your profound statements. And I am very happy to see that we still have a few minutes to talk to each other. I know that you are very busy and the next appointment is waiting for you, but nonetheless we can shed some more light on some of the questions you mentioned. So you just explained to us how China is striving for peace and good neighborhood and good neighborly relations.
我现在很高兴，现在有机会能够跟您在接下来的讨论当中，对您刚才提到的一些问题进行一些更加深入的探讨。您刚才在您的演讲中提到了中国一直致力于和平的外交政策，同时和睦和平是中国人民的历来的追求。
So here, please allow me to ask one question. So the Chinese defense budget rises year by year, and only a few weeks ago we heard that China announced new record-high budget figures for defense.
速度增长，而几周前，中国就公布了新一年的国防预算，这个预算创造了至今的一个记录。
So many nations, not only your neighbors in Asia, look with concern at China's modernization of the armed forces, and they worry and they show concern. And they also show concern that China ignores international mechanisms for mitigating conflict. So
国家看见中国现在在增加国防军费预算，同时对军队进行现代化的这些努力当中，他们都对此深表忧虑。特别是中国现在在周边，例如在南海跟有一些邻国有领土争端，他们现在因此他们的忧虑得到了增强。而且中国在解决领土争端这个问题上，拒绝采用国际的领土争端调解机制。
So how is it possible? How is it possible that China can establish an atmosphere of mutual trust with her neighbors while promoting the core interests of China with exclusively peaceful mechanisms?
措施来增强邻国对中国的信任，能够让中国的邻国相信中国只会像您刚才说的那样，以一种以和平的方式来确保自身维护自身的核心利益。
中国呢是世界上邻国最多的一个国家。我们有海陆邻国有20个，那么我们陆路的边境就有22000公里。
China hat weltweit.
China is a country with the largest number of neighbors on the land, and we have 20 neighbors both on the land and on the sea. And our land boundary alone spans 22,000 kilometers.
以来呢，我们都是秉持着以邻为善，以邻为伴，与邻为善这样的方针的。才前不久，我们还总结了这个周边外交的方针，我们叫做亲、诚、惠、容。这个因为远亲不如近邻呐，这个朋友是可以选择的，但是邻居呢是无法选择的，是要世代的接触下去的。无论是从理智上，还是从感情上，与邻为善，这都是唯一正确的选择。
For a long period of time, China is committed to building amicable and friendly relationship with our neighbors. Just not long ago, we developed our new thinkings on neighborhood diplomacy, which can be summed up in 4 key words. That is affinity, sincerity, mutual benefit, and inclusiveness. As the Chinese saying goes, a distant relative is not as helpful as a close neighbor. You can choose your friends, but not your neighbor. And the friendship and friendly relationship with your neighbor must be passed down from generation to generation. So building amicable and friendly relationship with neighbors is the only right choice, both in the philosophical and emotional terms.
中国刚才提到了中国的国防预算，这个都是可以去进行数字的去测算的，是吧？这个中国的国防预算的话呢，是非常正常的，是符合中国这么一个大国自身国防建设的正常需要的。
Just now you mentioned China's national defense budget, and the figure of China's national defense budget is purely normal. It is consistent with China's normal need of national defense development as a major and a big country in the world.
Haushalt aufzunehmen und das entspricht auch dem Bedarf Chinas.
我们绝不走国强必霸的道路，但是我们也再不能够重复鸦片战争以来在西方列强的这种坚船利炮之下，我们被奴役、被殖民的这样的历史的这种惨剧，所以我们必须有足以自卫的国防建设。
China will never seek hegemony, even though it becomes stronger. However, we will also not repeat the historical tragedy China has suffered since the outbreak of the Opium War, when Western powers used gunboats to force China's door open and plunged the Chinese country and nation into slavery and colonialism. Therefore, we need a necessary national defense development to serve the purpose of self-defense.
Von den anderen Mächten unterdrücken und kolonialisiert werden. Dafür brauchen wir deshalb auch ein entsprechendes Verteidigungshaushalt.
我们现在的周边国家呢，我不认为是普遍紧张，我们在绝大多数时间和绝大多数国家的关系都是相当不错的。这个当然作为这个亲戚，就如同这个碗和勺子难免有碰撞的时候一样，也会和一些国家发生一些矛盾。我想这个在国际上，也是常见的事情。
I don't think that most neighboring countries of China are nervous about China's development. And in my view, in most of the times, China has enjoyed friendly relations with most of its neighbors. Having said that, it is just like when you are eating food, the bowl and the spoon will make contact and run into each other. So for countries, state-to-state relations, you may also run into frictions from time to time, which is purely normal in international relations.
我们在所谓的南海这些问题上，我们叫做不惹事儿，但是也不怕事。有关我们这个国家主权、领土完整的事情，当然我们要坚决捍卫。
On the issue of South China Sea, we will not provoke troubles ourselves, but we are not fear of troubles provoked by others as well. And when it comes to our sovereignty and territorial integrity, we will firmly safeguard these interests.
按照有关的国际准则，在处理着国与国之间的一些海洋权益问题。
We have indeed been managing and handling the relevant issues concerning maritime rights and interests in strict accordance with international rules.
Rechte nach dem entsprechenden internationalen Recht.
我们也稳妥地在管控着这种分歧，避免它紧张升级。
We have taken appropriate steps to manage the disputes and to prevent the disputes from escalating and leading to tension.
周边建议现在比如说是建设海上丝绸之路发展丝绸之路经济带建设亚洲投资银行，2+7的与东盟的关系，这个缅蒙印经济走廊建设总的来讲，我对于中国与周边关系的发展睦邻友好，我是持乐观态度，而且我觉得前景非常好。
We have put forward a number of initiatives vis-à-vis our neighborhood, including the Maritime Silk Road, the Economic Belt along the Silk Road, Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, 2+7 cooperation between China and ASEAN, and also the BCIM Economic Corridor. All in all, I am optimistic about the future prospect of China's relations with its neighbors, and I'm sure that we can develop a amicable or maintain an amicable relationship with our neighboring countries.
Infrastruktur und die Errichtung eines Wirtschaftskorridors zwischen China, Indien, Myanmar und Bangladesch. Insgesamt betrachtet bin ich sehr optimistisch für die Entwicklung unserer Beziehungen mit Nachbarländern und ich sehe durchaus gute Aussichten.
Danke für die gute und ausführliche.
So thank you very much indeed for your very profound answers and very detailed answers. In your speech, you also mentioned the challenges of global governance, and we heard about reform and opening of, and it's important for the national future of China. And at the very beginning, I also took the note, you spoke about the dream of the Chinese people for prosperity and happiness.
精彩又详细的回答。在您的演讲当中，您刚刚也提到了中国现在面临的很多挑战，同时您也指出，改革开放是中国解决这些应对这些挑战的必由之路。同时，您也为中国的未来发展描绘了很美好的蓝图。您提出了中国梦，中国梦就是中国人民都能够拥有一个幸福美好的生活。
Auf der Sitzung des
At the current session of the National People's Congress, you presented the national budget, and we also heard about environmental protection, security, interior security, and investment protections.
提出了中国政府在下一阶段的一些重点的改革领域，其中就包括有环境保护、那个内部安全，以及还有就是打击腐败等等。
Ein Aspekt der
So there is one common link for all these three topics. When you spoke about reform and opening, is the question of the state of law. Because without legal measures and tools for sanctioning, you cannot really enforce environmental protection. You cannot protect civil rights, and also the fight against corruption is not possible without an independent body of justice.
改革当中有一点把它们都衔接了起来，这就是法治国家的建设。因为如果没有一个健全的法律体制的话，那么环境保护就很难进行。如果没有一个很好的法治的一个框架，那么内部的安全可能也很难保障。同时，如果没有一个独立的司法和法律体系的话，那么反腐的工作也难以往前推动。
So how can you increase the legal security, so the security of the legal environment both for citizens and for companies, especially against the backdrop of the Chinese dream of prosperity and happiness?
就是在我们着眼于您提出的中国梦这个伟大构想的前提下，我们怎样能够更好的来保障公民和企业能够享有更高的法律安全？
这是个好问题。
Das ist eine sehr gute Frage.
This is a good question.
对改革的问题呢，也做了一些这个原则的阐述。那么就是中国经过了30多年的改革开放，到了今天这样的一个状况，我们的话呢，就是树立了一个信心，一个目标，就是中国一定要继续走改革开放的道路。我提出来，改革开放在中国只有进行时，没有完成时。
Well, just now in the speech, I provided some general statements and also principles about China's reform and opening up. Through 30 years of reform and opening up, we have gained the confidence in China's future, and our goal is to continue this process of reform and opening up. I said in previous occasions that in pursuing reform and opening up, there should never be and reform and opening up is an ongoing process, and there will be never an end in this pursuit.
Und ich habe auch dazu ganz prägnant gesagt, bei der Reform in China gibt es nur Präsenz und es gibt kein Perfektum.
然而，中国的改革开放现在进入了深水区。我们说呢，就是，遇到的都是一些难题，啊，这个改革的那种最大公约数的这种利益最大化的改革，差不多都进行完了，现在的改革呢，就是要啃硬骨头了。
The reform at this stage has entered the deep water zones, and what are left are the most difficult issues. The stage of reform where most people can benefit is already over, and now we are in a new stage of cracking those hard nuts or gnawing at the hard bones of reform.
Zu finden, und deshalb gilt es jetzt, dass wir Bemühungen unternehmen, die Anliegen der Bevölkerung besser zu entsprechen.
而且现在的改革也很难是单向突破，牵一发而动全身呢。所以我们现在这个改革呢，就要搞综合改革。那么当前来讲呢，就是很重要的，就是说要搞顶层设计，要提出时间表、路线图。我刚才讲到了，这些就是我们三中全会所做的事情。
And reform at this stage, it is impossible for you to just make breakthroughs in individual sectors, because all the reform efforts will have an overall or overarching impact on the general situation. So what we need is a comprehensive package of reform, and reform in this stage requires top-level designing and also the establishment of a timetable and a roadmap for deepening reform. And that is exactly what we did during the third plenum of the 18th CPC Central Committee.
Auf dem dritten Plenum des 18. Zentralkomitees der Kommunistischen Partei Chinas.
我们现在的改革呢是经济、政治、文化、社会，再提出来了一个生态文明建设。当然还有我们共产党自身的改革，5+1五位一体加一的改革。同时，我们这个改革涉及到15个大领域，330多项。
Reform at this stage covers multiple dimensions: economic, political, cultural, social, and ecological progress, and also the reform of the Communist Party of China itself. So we call it a 5-in-1 or 5+1 package of reform. Reform will include more than 330 specific steps in 15 major areas.
Reformagenda umfasst insgesamt 15 Teilbereiche und insgesamt mehr als 33 Reformmaßnahmen.
改革的重点当然还是经济。那么经济呢，我们这次有一个亮点，就是提出要让市场在资源配置中起决定性作用。因为最初我们叫做市场起计划经济的辅助作用，后来就要起基础性作用，这次提出起决定性作用，并且更好地发挥政府作用。这是一个很重大的理论上的决定。
Of course, economic reform will still be the focus of this round of reform. And one of the highlights in economic reform is that we will let the market play a decisive role in the allocation of resources. In the beginning of reform, we were saying that we should let the market play a supporting role in the planned economy. Later, the role was elevated to a basic role in market economy. Now, this time, it is further elevated to a decisive role in the allocation of resources. And also, we have made it clear that we will better leverage the role of the government. So this is indeed a theoretical breakthrough in the guiding philosophy of reform.
Der theoretischen Perspektive als auch aus der Praxisperspektive.
当然，正像主席讲到的， 市场经济就是法治经济，而法治经济呢，它涉及到政治改革、政治体制改革。那么政治体制改革里边呢，我们这就是有包括司法体制改革这一系列的改革在里面。
Herr Präsident.
Mr. President, just as you said, market economy is defined by the rule of law. And in enhancing rule of law, it is important to promote political structural reform. And this process will include many specific reform efforts, including the reform of the judicial system.
Auch die Reform der politischen Struktur vorantreiben. Und dazu gibt es die Teilreformen im Justizbereich und auch Reformen in vielen anderen Bereichen.
这些改革呢已经启动了。我举个例子，司法体制领域，我们就是做出了废止劳教制度的决定。那么在这个营造良好的外商的这种投资环境方面，我们在上海呢做了这个贸易试验区这个是为今后整个的这个外资如何能够准入前的国民待遇和负面清单营造一个普世的这么一种政策，这些都启动了。所以我相信通过我们的改革，你所提出来的这些问题呢，都会阶段性的，但无疑是向前推进的。
Some specific reform efforts or measures have already been initiated in the relevant areas. For example, in the field of judicial reform, we have made the decision to abolish the system of re-education through labor. In terms of providing a friendly environment for foreign investors, we have launched a pilot free trade zone in Shanghai in order to pave the ground for the provision of pre-establishment national treatment and the adoption of a negative list approach for foreign investors in the future. So reform in various areas will come into fruition in different stages, but the goal or direction has already been set, and reform will be completed in the end. Thank you, Mr. President.
Herr Staatspräsident, ganz herzlich.
Mr. President, thank you. Thank you very much for your very detailed answer, and considering that your next call is waiting already from our Chancellor, I wish to thank you very much indeed for your speech. I wish to thank you that you have come here, and I also wish you the very best for your stay in Germany, and surely also for your wife, and I also wish you a good transit to Brussels. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you again. This was an excellent speech.